Today's video is one on Peep-Creep. It's a problem you may or may not have. And what it is when your peep sight, your rear sight, travels up the string for various reasons. Now here's some evidence. Tell you what, put that picture that we have, the one I sent to Georgia. Now this particular picture wasn't done for this video, but was done for a previous project where I was trying to find a more economical type of arrow to shoot. Now normally I shoot the Easton Axis 400. They're not a free arrow by any means, but they work pretty well. If you'll notice, we have one arrow that's hung below the rest of the pack. And the reason it's not with the rest of the group, I feel, is because it lost one of its vanes in flight. And this commonly occurs when you're slapping shafts together like this. This is a fairly close group, and what I was doing is you step through your distances. You usually start up close and work backwards. Now the red one, the one with the reds on there, they're a little cheaper shaft. They're about $51 to $54 a dozen shafts, and I make those up. And since I don't use one of those primitive bristle type rest, there's really no reason why I have to use the 2 to 3 inch little super rigid type of vanes. I can actually use something longer like these 4.18s that I have on these longer shafts. What they do is they give you much more visual reference when you're trying to do the arrow recovery after the shot. But you can see the group definitely has crept up. It's a nice tight group, so it illustrates the point fairly well. So let's get back to the point at hand, which is the bow mechanics. Now, what happens when the rear sight creeps upwards? Well, if my finger is the knock and the other one is the peep, if we creep up and we increase that distance, it drives the knock downward, which does what? It actually causes you to tilt the bow. And what happens when you tilt the bow? You actually shoot higher, which is what we saw in the still shot. You see, it actually causes your shots to rise because the peep tubing is pulling on the sight, causing it to go upwards into the string. And that results in you tilting the bow more upwards. And that's what we have. And if you don't know it because it's insidiously slow, that's what you have. Now, what's the cause of this? Why is this so much worse? Well, I have my opinions, and I think it's because of this material. These are new strings and new cables that I made from BC&Y's new trophy material. And it's really good material. It was sold to solve the problem of the fuzz, the abrasion, when it rubs against your shirt or whatever. And it's really nice about that. But it seems like it has an issue. Let me see if I can pull this down. Okay. You see how that gap opened up? Is there green showing through? Is the camera getting this? You see how that serving kind of pulled back a little bit? Well, I think in the process of changing the formula to make this nice and slick, it also made it difficult for the serving to want to bite in as well. And you rob Peter to pay Paul, and I think that's what we have here. Now, to solve this, I ended up serving above it, lengthening that serving, and finally I came up with this. This is the second time I served it, and I served it several inches because the first time wasn't enough. Now let me show you this. Now when you pull on the peep tubing, what you end up doing is you're actually pulling it forward, and sometimes they pop off. Now I've tried gluing them. I've tried different glues to do that with, and this is what I've come up with now. It works pretty good. Here's a little sketch I made for you. You take your standard string, split string type dude, and then you have your peep. He has a little tang that sticks out there. I just took my little Dremel, played dentist, cut a little light groove around there, and then the peep tubing slips right on top of it. And what that does is it seems to work better than glue. Let's see if the camera will get that. Yeah, it's getting it pretty good. Now what I did was I tied a piece of serving around the tubing and forced it into that groove, and it seems to hold up pretty darn well, and there's no glue you have to dig out of the groove. Well, until next time, I appreciate you stopping by and watching. Thank you. Have a good season.